Have you ever stopped and wondered what it would feel like to achieve something so extraordinary that people eventually stop asking whether you can do it again and start wondering if anyone will ever be able to catch you? Not for a day, not for a week, not even for a few months, but for years. Imagine waking up every Monday knowing that millions of people around the world are still choosing your name, still supporting you, still believing in you, still showing up despite the endless stream of new trends, new artists, and new headlines competing for attention every single day. Now imagine doing that not for 10 weeks, not for 50 weeks, but for 119 consecutive weeks. It sounds impossible, yet somehow Jin has turned the impossible into reality. And what makes this story even more fascinating is that while he was quietly extending one of the most remarkable popularity streaks in K-pop history, BTS was simultaneously creating another global phenomenon that reminded the world exactly why their influence remains unmatched. This is a story about records, but more importantly, it's a story about connection. Because numbers alone don't explain why millions of people continue choosing the same artist week after week. To understand that, we have to look deeper. Let's begin with a question. What does popularity actually mean? Is it a viral moment, a trending hashtag, a chart-topping song, or is it something much more powerful? Because trends come and go. The internet moves fast. Today's biggest topic often becomes tomorrow's forgotten headline. Yet somehow, Jin continues standing at the very top. According to the latest MI1 Pick rankings, Jin secured first place in the K-pop individual weekly ranking for the 119th consecutive week. Read that again. 119 consecutive weeks. That means for more than 2 years, there has never been a single week where another artist managed to take that position away from him. Think about how much has happened in the world during those 2 years. New albums have been released, new groups have debuted, new trends have emerged, entire music cycles have come and gone. Yet through all of it, Jin remained number one. And during the first week of June alone, fans cast an incredible 7,664,868 votes for him, more than 7.5 million votes. Numbers like that don't happen accidentally. They happen when people genuinely care, when support evolves into something deeper, when admiration becomes loyalty. Because at some point, this stops being about a competition. It becomes about a relationship. The kind of relationship built through years of shared memories, years of laughter, years of comfort, years of music, years of growing together. And perhaps that's why Jin's achievements feel different. Because when fans vote for him, they're not simply supporting a celebrity. Many of them are supporting someone whose voice has been part of their lives through difficult moments, joyful moments, life-changing moments, and unforgettable memories. That emotional connection is impossible to calculate. Yet somehow, it reveals itself through records like these. And the weekly ranking is only one piece of the story. Jin also maintained his position at the top of the monthly rankings. May became his 29th consecutive month at number 1. 29 months, almost 2.5 years. Try imagining any field where someone remains at the top for that long. Sports, entertainment, business. Competition becomes harder every day. Remaining successful is difficult. Remaining dominant is even harder. Yet Jin continues accomplishing both. As if that weren't enough, he also maintained first place in the April 1 Pick chart K-pop solo category for the 25th consecutive time. Before that, he ranked first in a special voting category celebrating stars considered unbelievably perfect. The pattern is becoming impossible to ignore. Different categories, different votes, different periods. Yet the result remains the same. Jin at number 1. But perhaps the most interesting part of this story is what was happening outside the rankings. Because while fans were helping him set new records, Jin himself was busier than ever. Across social media and fashion circles, new visual pictorials featuring Jin were released through Fred, the prestigious French luxury jewelry maison, where he serves as a global ambassador. The images immediately captured attention, and it's easy to understand why. For years, people have praised Jin's visuals, but what fans often find even more captivating is the way he balances elegance with warmth, sophistication with sincerity, global superstar status with an approachable personality. The photos reminded people once again why major luxury brands continue seeking partnerships with him. Yet even those stunning visuals weren't the main focus of his journey, because something much bigger was unfolding. While the world admired the photographs, Jin was preparing to stand in front of thousands of fans once again. He had already completed the North American portion of the BTS World Tour Arirang. Cities across the continent welcomed him with enormous enthusiasm. Concert venues became gathering places for fans who had waited years for moments like these. And now the journey was leading him to Busan, a city preparing for one of the most meaningful celebrations in BTS history. Because this wasn't just another concert. This was happening during BTS Festa, the annual celebration marking the group's debut anniversary. And this year carried special significance. 13 years. Think about that number. 13 years ago, 7 young artists began a journey nobody could fully predict. Back then, nobody knew they would become one of the most influential music groups in the world. Nobody knew they would break records across continents. Nobody knew they would inspire millions of people from every corner of the globe. Yet 13 years later, here they were, still together, still creating, still making history. And they chose this milestone moment to release a gift for fans, a new digital single called Come Over. What happened next was nothing short of extraordinary. Within a remarkably short period of time, the song surged to #1 on the iTunes Top Song chart in 79 countries and regions. 79. Take a moment to appreciate what that means. Different languages, different cultures, different backgrounds, different time zones. Yet listeners everywhere were pressing play on the same song. The United States, the United Kingdom, Japan, France, and dozens upon dozens of other countries. The message of the song traveled across borders almost instantly. And maybe that's because its emotional theme feels so universal. At its heart, Come Over speaks about eventually finding someone important even when you're feeling lost, about discovering connection in moments of uncertainty, about reaching the person who matters despite obstacles along the way. It's the kind of message that resonates regardless of where someone lives, regardless of what language they speak, regardless of their age. And perhaps that's one reason BTS continues connecting with so many people. Their music often speaks to emotions everyone understands. Adding even more meaning to the release, Suga participated in the song's production, while RM and J-Hope contributed to its creation as well. It wasn't simply another song. It felt like a collaborative expression of the group's identity, a reminder of the creative bond that has defined BTS throughout their career. Meanwhile, another remarkable story was unfolding behind the scenes. Their album Arirang continued dominating global charts. For a second consecutive week, it held the #1 position on Spotify's weekly top album global chart. Even more impressively, this marked the album's 9th overall week at #1. Think about how difficult that is in today's music industry. Streaming platforms release new music every day. Competition is relentless. Attention spans are shorter than ever. Yet Arirang continued standing above everything else. The album wasn't merely succeeding, it was thriving. And then there was Swim. Week after week, the title track remained among the most streamed songs globally. Days turned into weeks, weeks turned into months. Yet listeners kept returning. The song had already spent 84 days maintaining a strong global presence. That kind of consistency reveals something important. People weren't listening because they felt obligated. They were listening because they genuinely loved the music. The momentum extended across international markets as well. In the United Kingdom, Arirang continued appearing on multiple official charts. In Germany, it remained inside the top 10 for an astonishing 12th consecutive week. In Australia, it maintained impressive positions on both album and vinyl rankings. Everywhere you looked, there was evidence of BTS's enduring influence. But perhaps the most emotional chapter of this story wasn't happening on charts at all. It was happening in Busan. As BTS celebrated 13 years together, the city itself became part of the celebration. Special events transformed ordinary locations into unforgettable experiences. Drone shows illuminated the night sky near Gwangan Bridge. Beautiful displays painted patterns of light above crowds of excited fans. At Hyundai Beach, sand art creations captured the spirit of BTS's journey. Families gathered, Friends gathered, fans traveled from different regions and different countries, everyone united by a shared desire to celebrate a story that had become meaningful to their lives. Imagine standing there, looking up at the sky, watching thousands of lights dance above the ocean, knowing that millions of people around the world were celebrating the same anniversary, the same memories, the same journey. It's the kind of moment that reminds people why music matters, why artists matter, why communities matter. Because at its best, music does more than entertain, it brings people together. And that may be the real reason Jin's 119-week record feels so significant. Yes, the number is impressive, yes, the achievement is historic, but behind every single vote is a person, someone who decided to spend a few moments supporting him. Someone who remembered a song that helped them, a performance that inspired them, a smile that comforted them, a memory they never forgot. Multiply that by millions, multiply that by years. And suddenly the record begins to make sense. Not because it's easy, but because it's built on something stronger than popularity. Trust, loyalty, connection. The very things that can't be manufactured, the very things that can't be bought, the very things that take years to build. As BTS celebrates 13 incredible years, and as Jin continues writing new chapters in his own remarkable story, one thing becomes increasingly clear. These achievements aren't simply about staying relevant. They're about creating a legacy. A legacy measured not only in records and trophies, but in the countless lives touched along the way. And perhaps that's the most beautiful part of all. Because one day, someone will eventually break a record. Someone always does. But what people remember forever are the emotions behind those records. The moments, the memories, the impact. And judging by everything we're seeing today, Jin and BTS are creating memories that millions of people around the world will carry with them for a very long time. So while headlines focus on 119 consecutive weeks at number one, while charts celebrate 79 countries reaching number one, while albums continue dominating global rankings, a bigger question remains. If this is what BTS and Jin are accomplishing 13 years into their journey, what incredible heights are they still capable of reaching next?